So I think let's have a look now, see if we're going live on Facebook. Okay, I'm just preparing to bring Jay on. He should be with us very shortly. So let me just, lovely day here on the Wirral in the UK. Very pleasant, very quiet. The birds are twittering. And yes, absolutely marvellous. So shut up, Joe. Just make sure that you do some sharing of things. Okay. La, 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 la. Just bear with me a few seconds, old chap. Share. Let's see, who can I share to? Share to a group. Let's see what groups we've got. Let's go to the Freedom Network Live. Okay. There we are, that should do. And also we'll do one more for good luck. Jay, if you're watching this, you could maybe share to your group. And 2 comments. Let's see what the comments say. Hello, Shanine. Hang on, let me sometimes you need to give time. Just calm down. Hiya, George. Nice to see you, old chap. Soul Lion Aloe. That's a good name. Nice to meet you. Soul Leon Aloe. Okay. What do I do next? Now, in 1 minute time. Hi, Marie, my love. I hope you're well and not causing too much trouble. And if not, why not? Let me just go and see if Jay is actually going to join us today. Let's see. Well, he's not here yet. So what's this going to be about? Just going to be about simple, straightforward physical techniques just to help individuals to stay cool, calm, and collected in these weird and wonderful times. So based upon neuroscience and years of experience, both from myself and from Jay, Jay has a slightly different way of doing things than me. He tends to shout and scare the daylights out of people. I just basically let people get on with stuff themselves and maybe just give them a gentle little prod every now and then. Like, we'll call that the cattle prod method. So, okay, Jay, if you're listening to this, click on the Zoom link now, old fruit. Louise, good afternoon, my love. I hope you are well. Jay, press the link. Bleed Nell. What shall I do next? I know. I'll have a cup of coffee. Yep, everybody's going through stuff. Some good stuff, some not so good stuff. But what can you do when things are out of your control? Hiya, Gary. Nice to see you, mate. All you can do is just accept, let go, and let the universe guide you and navigate you through this interesting time. As Confucius say, may you live in interesting times. These are certainly interesting times. What's this you're saying, Louise? I'm in shielding isolation and finding it mentally, emotionally difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. And I think when we're stuck alone with our heads, This can just highlight the conflict that goes on between the left and the right hemispheres, between the yin and the yang, and between those two portions of ourselves that should be cooperating rather than knocking hell out of each other. So I'm going to try and show you some techniques today that may help. I'm just looking for Jay. He's a bit slow on the uptake, Jay, so, you know, be nice to him. Be nice to him when he eventually gets here. He's probably sending me all sorts of rude messages. Hang on. I'll go to this this other device. I've got like thousands of laptops and iPads and everything here. Let's have a look to see what he's saying. Okay. Choo, choo, choo. There we are. Shall do, he says. Shall do. Let me just send him a message. Do it now, then. And I'll say, please. Do it now, then, old chap. He's probably gone off for a run or something like that. Anyway, while I'm waiting for Jay, who I've known for many years, he was one of my best students. I say that to all my students. In fact, he was the best. He never listened to a single word I said, thank goodness. And he's made his own way in life and become very successful at what he does. So I'll let him tell you that when he comes on. He obviously doesn't know how to tell the time, so that's something that he's got to sort of practice on. What's this, Louise? I found to meditate exercise routine. I'm not a TV sitter. That's asking me to download app. Oh, well, it shouldn't. Not sure what to say next. Maybe I'll just, Jay, if you're listening to me, download the app then, if possible. It should just say click here and you automatically it automatically works for you. Is it on a phone or is it on an iPad or a laptop or what? Sorry about this, everybody. Oh, hang on. He's here. Oh, I'm not going to let him in now just for being awkward. Right. Oh, go on then. Admit. Ah, Jay. I can't hear you. Try that unmuting device in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. Fail to prepare, Jay. Prepare to fail. Hello?
I can hear you. How are you, Joe?
I'm all right, Jay. How are you?
I'm good, man. I've missed you.
Yeah, it's like a hole in the head, as they say. Listen, Jay, welcome to the IAM Connection Live.
Thank you very much.
And that's a nice library setup you've got there in the background.
Do you know what, Joe? I haven't had my office for like 5 weeks. I was moving home, everyone, and I was so depressed, mate. I was so depressed. So this is the new office.
It looks great, mate. It looks great. Now, you seem to have your shirt wide open there. Is that some sort of a macho thing? Have you got a hairy chest, have you?
No, I thought I'm on Joe's channel. I better doll myself up. You know how it is. I still haven't sorted my whole ego thing out yet. Am I looking sharp, Joe?
You look very good, mate. You look very good. But that's
Thanks,
not
mate.
the point. What you look like is not the point. It's the stuff that's going to come out of your mouth now to hopefully
Well,
help people to actually stay centered and grounded in these very peculiar and rapidly shifting times. So
absolutely, Joe.
just give us a quick background on who you are, what you do, and what your experience is, mate.
So I'm Jay Dignam. I'm ex-military, and I left the military, and I decided I want to go down the clinical route. So I met Joe. I was one of Joe's finest students. He's never had a student like me since. From then, I went down 10 years of academics. I'm now a clinical therapist, a personal trainer. I specialize in neurorehabilitation and musculoskeletal issues. And I run an academy that fuses clinical science with sport applications to try and change the way the health industry looks at treating certain issues. And that's me in a nutshell, basically, Joe.
That was like a miracle that's just happened, because when I normally ask you to talk about yourself, we normally have to go on for 2.5 hours before I can get a word. Now listen, Jay, my whole philosophy is about light-heartedness. And when I talk about light-heartedness, I'm not talking about stupidity. I'm talking about, it's an energy type feeling. And I think what we can do, or my hope is at least, is maybe share our experience and our strength and our hope with people, and pass on some practical techniques that they've got to do and not think about doing. Because what I'm seeing more and more is now people are isolated and self-isolating. They're left to a large degree with their own selves, their own ego selves.
Joe, I come across this quotation this morning, and it said, perhaps you're a slave to your own idea of yourself. And it made me think that a lot of people now are sitting in, and the idea they had of themselves within the social society, they're sort of sitting in now, and they don't really know who they are and what they're all about. And now they're not going out and doing what they think is them. They're getting a bit down and a bit upset and a bit confused, and emotions are coming through. So I thought it was a good quotation this morning I'd give you.
No, it's perfect, mate, and it fits in synchronistically with what I was trying to say before you butted in, basically.
Don't apologise.
You never have to apologise to me, mate, because we are soulmates. You know that, right?
Absolutely.
I don't mean twin flames, because the thought of that just horrifies me. But anyway, that's another thing. Is people are sitting down. They're left with themselves, maybe for the first time for a long time. And they feel nervous, irritable, discontented.
Yeah.
Because they've not known any true peace of mind. And this, as you know, my story is, I was in that state for a long, long time. Since I was a child, I was always nervous, irritable, discontented. I was supremely emotionally sensitive. Nobody could speak to me without me sort of feeling disturbed. Yeah. And I found that if I drank as much as I could when I was entitled to, that temporarily relieved me from all that stuff. But it didn't really relieve me, Jay. I was always looking for oblivion, and that was escape from my own mind, because I was intolerant of the way I was processing my thoughts. This might sound a bit technical, but I'll get to the point in a minute. And what I've realized is, in here, the two sides of my brain, left and right, the yin and yang of my brain was always in conflict with one another. And I've learned over time, and that was 28 years ago. And you know, Jay, that I made a couple of serious attempts to actually end my life, because I just couldn't handle it anymore, mate. So I went through years of stress, anxiety, and depression. And I tried every trick in the book to try and free me from all this stuff. I used to run and butt my head against the wall to try and knock myself out, because I couldn't bear what was going on in my mind. And I found a simple technique, Jay. It's called move into my heart, right? And this might sound daft. It might sound daft, but by moving to light-heartedness and focusing my energy back in my body rather than paying any attention to my head first, my life has been totally and utterly transformed. I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke anymore. I don't take medications if I don't need to. I'm not opposed to medications. But I think what I've learned, right, is that this technique is so simple that when you practice it for 3 10-minute sessions a day, in no time, you start to restore your connection with your true essential self. What have you
Yeah.
got to say about that, mate?
I think it's good, but I think I'm going to touch more on the superficial aspect of what's going on. I mean, we're all about that spiritual life. Anyone that's within this video now, we're all about it. You know, I'm pretty young going through this spiritual sort of transcendence. But I want to touch on a little bit more of the superficial before we go a little bit deep. And what I've noticed, Joe, is that we're all going through different sort of aspects of spirituality, Qigong, Qigong, you know, whatever it is that you're going through. And for me, all these different elements are just reading from the same book. We all end up at the same point. But now that we've experienced this bit of stress, it seems that the philosophy you're following, or the breathing techniques that everyone's following, we're not really believing in them as much as I'd like to see. And people are getting down. And I think there's 5 key things that I think we need to start hitting and sorting out before we can move in to start using that breathing technique, or using our spiritual sort of schooling, if you will, to try and keep us happy at this time. Because I think that's what this video is about. It's trying to teach everyone, how do we stay happy? So, you know, I'm a little bit blunt, Joe, so I'm going to get straight to it. It's this. The world, Joe, it's full of lovely people, yeah? But a lot of that world is full of idiots. A lot of idiots. And if at this time in your life, you can't really maintain your mindset and shift through all the bull that's out there, there's 2 things that you need to do now to focus on being spiritual. And that is one, ironically, as we're on Facebook, you have to come away from social media. You have to come away, because I've said this before, John. I've done this in a lot of posts, and I've seen that you've liked those posts, and we've said it. You are not entitled to an opinion unless you know about that subject. Okay, enough to state an opinion. And you get a lot of people putting a lot of stress on other people, you know, saying something's happened, and then someone will sit there and watch that video or read that script. You know, everyone's dying, and it makes you panic. And it doesn't matter how in touch with yourself you are. If I say to you, Joe, the sky's red, and you say, no, it's not, it's blue, but 100,000 people then turn around to you and say, actually, Joe, it's red, you would question yourself. And if you can't stay true to who you are, I hope I'm not rambling, Joe.
No, carry on, mate.
You know, if you can't stay true to who you are mentally, you know, keeping that sort of positivity alive, you've got to come off the social platforms, and you've got to come away from the news, because you're going to go away, and Joe's going to teach you this, you know, these breathing techniques now, which work down to a T. But you'll go back after 8 minutes, and you'll put social media on, or you'll watch the news, and it will just drag you down to the bottom of the pit. And I think the first thing we need to do in a superficial content is, if you're going to try and improve your happiness at this time now, you've got to switch off the biggest thing that's negative. And at the minute, that is the social platform with all the idiots about, and the news. So that's just one small aspect I think that we really need to touch on. And then one other thing, Joe, is your circle. Part of my, you know, Joe, I was homeless at the point of meeting you. And I sort of let go of family and the people I knew, because I wanted to follow down this sort of clinical route. And I decided to use all my money to get me through college and get me through certain courses. And I was living in Bidston Hill. And it was you, Joe, and I've said this before, it was you that saved my life and kept me going with your wisdom. And that's what I want to touch on. If I didn't have changed my circle, I wouldn't have progressed spiritually, you know, physically, mentally. And I think if you've got a lot of people about you, if you're going to make this decision now, guys that aren't, you know, especially my platform that are watching now, guys that aren't really spiritual, or they know something's going on, they know the shift, and they're talking about vibration and frequencies. If you really want to go down this path, you have to make sure that the circle around you and the people that you're talking to are in with you. You know, they're not going to, you know, you're going to go home or, you know, maybe even after all this is over, you come out, you're a spiritual person, you go back into the same circle of friends, and you lose it all, and you go back into this negative mindset. So I just thought, before, you go on about the whole spiritual breathing, I think you need to get away from what's negative to make this work. And for me, that is, the social platform, the news, and obviously the circle that you have around you might not be the best thing for you at this time. And it's hard, Joe. I feel it's hard to let go of people. Some people that you could be really close to, and it's quite hard to let them go because they're not good for you. And I just feel like, a lot of what I'm going to put into now is more to do with nutrition and exercise and, sort of the military, keep your mind straight type of thing. But I just think, for me, I'm following a lot of your stuff now. For me to do that, I have to change my circle and switch off from all this media and, negative platform stuff that was coming my way, because I couldn't focus on it. And I wasn't really getting the benefits. I was doing meditation and breathing, and, I was out in the wild more, but then I was coming back into that circle of things. And I just wasn't making a breakthrough. And I don't want no one to start following this now, because I think we're the only guys out there at the minute that are pushing this forward within our area. I don't want a lot of people to go, do you know what, this might work, and they go out and they do what you're about to explain, Joe, and then give in because they're not really getting that sense of positivity back. And it might just be that there's something out there you're not letting go of, that, you're doing it, and that's spilling over. That's filling the cup too much of negativity, and we're only getting a small positive sort of input into the cup, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't think that you should put your name down for the Prime Minister's job in being politically correct or anything like that. And when you say what I'm going to go on about spirituality, right, let me make my suggestions, because all we can do, Jay, in my view, and this is only the way I see things, we can make suggestions based upon our personal lived experience. And I know that you had tough times, like myself, and you've got the military discipline behind you. I know that. And you're very in your face, straightforward. And that's great. Being direct is great. But I think what we can do is isn't it true that all we're saying is, this is what I feel will work for other people? And what I found out is, when I was talking about being restored to my essential self, when I got into that, it led me back into physicality, mate. It led me back in learning how that in order to discharge any pent-up emotions and all this conflict and confusion going on in my head, what I needed to do for me, and this doesn't work for everybody, but for me, I had to start becoming more physical. Let's get physical. And I that I run a lot, or I jog a lot, and I do long distances. And in that process, I'm very focused on the way that my breathing is. And what I found is, from a practical point of view, if you breathe in to the same amount that you breathe out, so that your length of inspiration and your length of expiration is about the same, then that actually impacts upon the way your brain waves work. This is called psychophysiological coherence. Or if you like, it's about mind-body coherence, or in simple terms, it's the mind and the body reconnecting again for the benefit of the whole individual. So what you're saying and what I'm saying, although in different ways of actually transmitting the information, we're saying the same thing, mate. We need to focus back on our bodies and come out of the stinking thinking that's in our minds. I just want to talk about the neurotic armchair. Most people find now that they've got time on their hands, and they sit in the armchair with the view to relaxing and comfortably enjoying themselves, right? And that's when the neurosis comes in to start nibbling away at them. And what I'm finding is, and I've had many people onto me, to say, what can we do? I'm going to give you the suggestions based upon my experiences. Don't sit too long in the neurotic armchair. Get off your bottom, right? I nearly said the swear word then. Get off your bottom, get out into nature, and become aware of your breathing. The other thing is as well, follow the governmental advice. I know there's a lot of rebels out there, but it seems very sensible to me to stay until we know how this disease is transmitted, to stay adequately apart from other people, to maintain hygienic precautions. And by the way, not too much alcohol, gel, because what that can do is it can actually wipe off both the good and the bad bacteria and viruses from your hand. And it can cause many skin complaints then, you see, because the skin can become dry and cracked, and that leaves us open then to all sorts of other things. So soap and water and hand cream afterwards, preferably with some vitamin E in it, would be useful. Go on, mate, you can say something now.
I spoke, you hit the nail on the head there, Joe. I was doing an interview with a microbiologist, Anne Salisbury. And the first thing she hit straight away there, Joe, was using the alcohol can actually damage the microbiome, which is on the hands. And it's, if you're using it too much, she said almost that it's opening you up to other issues and other viruses and bacteria that can then get in the body. And I've done a little bit in the bath a while back, and it was about alcohol basically works in that it kills the bacteria on the hands, but it leaves it on the hands still, from what I gather, what research I've done. But that's soap and water, Joe. It actually takes it off of the hands, and obviously it keeps the microbiome intact. So yeah, I've had a few people that's come on to that.
Simple, practical stuff. This is just about simple, practical stuff. It's bringing people back to being more hygienic, because believe it or not, when we're too busy, our hygiene starts to diminish.
Oh,
I know mine does. I mean, where I used to leave my underpants on for 7 days, sometimes it goes to 14 days. Proper man stuff, mate. No, but seriously, this I can see in a way we could take this whole global situation to rethink about our priorities in life. I think it's given us time to rethink about what's really important to us, right? And how, when this thing plateaus, which I'm sure that it will do eventually, right? What can we do, and what actions can we take to improve and enhance the quality and the joy of our life, rather than putting ourselves back into a life of slavery and servitude to big organizations? That's where I feel now, is that independence, self-unification, and coming back. It's almost like we have to be like Humpty Dumpty and put ourselves back together again in the correct way, because we've been misdirected and disjointed for such a long time. Your go.
Joe, I know this sounds weird, and don't get me wrong, the death this virus has caused, it's sad. But, being in the industry I'm in, I've been around a lot of death caused by a lot of different things, and it's all sad. I've never felt so positive than, in a stressful situation than I do now. I can only see positivity coming from where we are now. It's the smaller businesses that are going to thrive. We're becoming closer as human beings. I'm sitting in the house, and I'm doing these interviews, and after this, I'm going to go and try and learn German for 2 hours. I've never had that time before when I've been in the rat race. I can read a book, I can speak and talk because I'm in front of the telly all the time. I'm bored of that. I can only see positivity coming from what's gone on. And this is what I want to try and put across. In terms of, our health, because I think a lot of people are worried about our health. There's one thing I want to sort of touch on, and that is people are now in panic. I've been to the shop a couple of times, and people are overindulging in all these immune boosting products out there. And you cannot boost your immune system. You have the best immune system ever in the universe. It's great. It's fantastic. It's evolved. It's flawless. But if you don't have a healthy lifestyle, to have an immune system that's compromised, you have to go through many days of malnourishment and no exercise for your immune system to be low. And it's not like these antibodies are sitting there with a suit of armor on. If we're all going to get a disease, this virus can take hold of every single person on the planet. But because I've lived a healthy lifestyle, if my immune system is running on 100%, okay, and it reduces by 50, I'm still fighting fit to fight that off. I've still got enough energy to fight that off. But if you don't take the responsibility to take in some mindfulness and improve your diet and research on the vitamins and the proteins and the carbohydrates to take in, and make sure you're getting out there and getting one with nature and going for runs and lifting some weight to build up some tissue and have a good framework. If you don't do that, then you're running off 50%. And once you decrease and you get ill and it goes down to 20, it's less likely for you then to fight off that infection.
I couldn't agree more, mate. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Because, from a new, that I'm like, previously I was a biomedical scientist.
Yeah,
and my subject area was immunology, microbiology, hematology. So I have some understanding of this. And I agree, nutrition's so important. The use of prebiotics and probiotics is important, not the commercial big shop bought ones because they're full of sugar.
Yeah.
It's to research properly. And also vitamins. You can overdose on vitamins, so you need to be cautious. And this is all about moderation to me, this. And anything that's sensationalist and fear-based, people who are in that state, right, it's not helpful to be around those people. I think that's what you were saying before. There's a phrase that says, stick with the winners. It's not that you're judging them. It's just that you're using your energy not to be drawn away by other people's negativity, because they can say what they like. It's the way that we process the information and the energy. That's our responsibility. So, Jay, sometimes we can need to just politely turn our backs on people because it's not working for us and come away to people who are the winners, people who are looking after their health first and foremost, right? And trusting their intuition, because we're all unique. We're all totally unique. And if your head's distracted and it's over there, worried about the future, then you lose sight of who you really are. And I'm saying to you, and you know this, that the body will speak to you in its own terms to tell you what it needs perfectly for you to go forward and maintain optimal health and well-being. Your go, old chap.
Well, touching, before we go back down nutrition, because I really want to touch on that vitamin aspect of things. I was reading a study by the British Medical Journal about vitamin D and vitamin C. And I think there's a New York doctor now that's trying to treat this virus by injecting large doses of vitamin C, 1,500 milligrams, I think. We're going to touch on that. Or let's just go back to that, turning our backs on that negativity. Now, Joe, we spoke about this when we did the alcoholism footage. From a very, very young age, I had this ability to manifest things, and I had no clue what it was. You remember the Ninja Turtles? They had those knives. I could manifest stuff, whenever I wanted to, and I've always been able to think something through hard, and later on down the line, it sort of happens in the way that I thought. Now, I haven't swayed at all from my beliefs, keeping my vibration high, keeping my positivity, the way my thought process is, looking at things in a different perspective. Now, I have not once been to the supermarket, Joe, and not been able to get what I wanted. When I come out of business, I sat down at this desk, and before I could even figure out how I'm going to deal with my clients, they all come to me with ideas, and I was fine. I was going out, Joe. I haven't bumped into 70 people all sitting down the beach. Every time I've gone out for a walk, I've been on my own and I've said hello and good morning to someone and they've been 2 feet away. And it's because I've come away from the news and I come away from the negativity. And the way my thought process is, it's as if I'm creating a safe reality for me, if you will. So on a mass scale, there was a point about a year ago where there was a shift in everyone's sort of mentality. Everyone was getting onto this manifestation and create your reality and bring up your vibrations. They weren't in tune with how it works, but everyone knew it was happening. And then all of a sudden, this stress hits us like a bomb, like a nuclear bomb, and everyone lets that go. And it's those people that are going out now that aren't carrying on with that. I've got to keep them away, and I've got to keep my positivity up, and I've got to see things in a different perception. And these people are now suffering. Now, I'm not saying it's magic, John. I'm not saying if you just think, things are going to get better. But on a mass scale, if we just change to a positive mindset and think things are going to get better, if you are suffering with money in your business and you just sit down at your desk, you may get an idea that pops in your head that helps feed your family for the next 6 weeks. It's not magic. It may not be coming from a higher power, but it may just be that you're a little bit more clearer up here so that you can change the physical nature of what you're going through.
See, I agree. Sorry, mate. Sorry to butt in, but
no.
You're saying in different words what I'm saying in different words.
Yeah.
And I think that when we sit down with positive intention and we sink deep into ourselves, then our intuition comes to the fore then. But if your head's absolutely twatted, oh, that's not the right word. Yeah, no, if your head's absolutely twatted with all sorts of fear and concerns, can I just tell you about anxiety? You can't be anxious about the past, Jay. You can be angry about the past, but anxiety is because you are projecting into the future based on a lack of power in the moments, right? So the idea is
when you get a natural stress response from thinking negative thoughts as well, yeah, because that's what anxiety is. It's a natural stress response.
The most important thing about anxiety is it grips you by the throat, because the root word angustia in Latin, it means a tightening or a narrowing of the throat. And what I try to teach people is, how will your body tell you that you're anxious? You'll feel gripped at the throat. Your voice changes, it goes up. But that's not the only place that gets gripped, because your heart beats quicker. Your blood vessels constrict and contract. Your blood pressure goes up, because at some level, you've just told, your mind has just told your body, hang on, son, there's danger here. And most of this stuff, Jay, is going on below the level of our consciousness. So to sit down and to become more conscious of our unconscious, that's becoming more self-aware. The more self-aware you become, the more power you get, the more choice you get, the more you can go forward and improve on life, you know. And what I'm saying to you is, the whole point of this talk today, in my view, was just to give people simple, practical tips. And I just want to reiterate what I'm saying is, if your head's battered, you can't think your way out of anxiety. You've got to move your way out of anxiety. And Tai Chi and Qigong and breathing and yoga and brisk exercise and resistance training, whatever works for you to offload this and transform this energy, because it's basically pent-up emotion, to transform it into vitality. That's the secret of life as far as I'm concerned, you know.
And let's touch on this breathing, Joe. So when I'm talking about breathing with clients and you know, friends, I'm talking about how the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system works. And if you just want to touch on what both of them are in a sort of less of a clinical way for me.
Yeah. The sympathetic and parasympathetic, if you like, in Chinese philosophy, that would be the yin and the yang. They're those two dualities, polarities. One's masculine and one's feminine. You know, they're just words that we use to say that they're complementary opposites. Okay. Now, the parasympathetic nervous system is the yin energy, which is the feminine. That's the one that's associated with the rest and the digest and the nurturing and the visceral organs, the deep visceral organs. The sympathetic nervous system is the masculine. It's the one that goes out to hunt and to fight and protect the feminine. What we've done for a long, long time, Jay, is we've been driven by the masculine side of our human individual minds. And that's led, if you like, to something called the patriarchal system. What's actually happening now is we're beginning to realize that we've not been looking after ourselves very well. So the negative, not the negative, the feminine side, right, is reasserting itself now, right? And it's asking us, can you take a step back? Can you sit down? Can you start to care for yourself? And let's just let go here and allow some balance to be restored. So to go back to your point is, I feel at a big global and universal, and yoga talks about this, at a big level, this is supposed to be happening now, to give people the opportunity to let go, to rebalance, and to make different choices in the future. And then, Jay, sorry, mate, then as our hearts open more, then we attract to us and we start manifesting more health, more well-being, more positivity, more love, more compassion, more care, and the world will become a better place.
Nice. And for us to tap into that parasympathetic nervous system, you know, we could almost say it's the flight and fight response.
Opposite. Parasympathetics, the rest and digest response.
Yes. So in the military, we'd want to switch off the sympathetic and move into the parasympathetic. And we'd done a technique where we were doing 4 breaths in, holding for 4 and releasing for 4, which calms the system down and moves us over to that parasympathetic nervous system in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot more to it. But that 4-second sort of rule, Joe, does that work? Is that something that you would teach, you know, your students?
The one I teach, and because I log them up and put them onto an ECG machine or a heart rate machine, is the one I teach first and foremost is to, most people breathe around 12 to 15 breaths a minute at rest. I then try and get them to come down to 9 breaths per minute, and then eventually to 6 breaths per minute. And at 6 breaths per minute, right, the magic happens. That's when the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang, the sympathetic and parasympathetic, they both rejoin one another at about 6 breaths per minute. That's the important bit. And to get to that, Jay, you just put your hands on your heart. This is the start of it. And you just breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop. It's boring because the head will say, oh, this is boring, this, and it will try and talk you out of it. But discipline says you have to say to your head, hang on a second, we haven't tried this before. We're going to give it a fair trial. And then, Jay, once you get into that coherence and your head starts to open, it will lead you then to different breathing techniques, like the 4 breaths in, the 4 stop, the 4 out again. There's circular breathing, there's cuboidal breathing, there's loads, and it's called, in yoga, it's called pranayama, and the military knew this because they will have used techniques to enhance your sympathetic nervous system, and that's the fighter,
Absolutely.
and so I know that you know about this, and so breathing, Buddha said, I never met Buddha, but he's reputed to have said, just become aware of your breathing. And Jay, I'll shut up after this bit, but when people are tense, they can tell that they're tense by focusing on their breathing. If you can feel your breathing starting to tense and take a step back and let it go before it manifests into disease and tension, then you're on a much better footing.
Yeah. And, you say about, you're going to be bored. But listen, guys, like I've said before, it takes many days, many months, many years to compromise your health. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of effort to get to bad health, whether that be obesity or heart disease or, having a compromised immune system. It takes a lot of effort to get to a really poor state of health. So you spending the next 14 days, if it be that, just focusing on this breathing is nothing compared to how many days you'd have had to spend to damage your health. And Joe, it doesn't have to be done sitting down in the yoga position, it can be outdoors from, my uncle just texted me there and he said, this is very good, this.
Thanks very much, Unc.
So, you don't have to be sitting down. I mean, I followed Buddhism for a while. I was doing Qigong for many years as a child, right up until the time I went into the military. And like you say, it doesn't have to be eyes closed, hands out, cross-legged. You can be doing what the government said, find an isolated spot, go for a 30-minute walk, 1 exercise a day, and you can be focusing on that 30 minutes just on the breathing. Looking at something really majestic like the sea, a river, the fucking night sky, the stars, lying on your, on your sun lounger in the middle of the night, looking up at the sky. It could be something as simple as that moves you into something a little bit more advanced. So I think we put it across as a little bit too spiritual at times, but if you're taking a dog for a walk, where you would not be doing nothing and thinking about these negative things, why don't we just focus and center off on that breathing just every time we go for the dog walk? Even in the shower, Joe, if we're showering away and we just try and focus on taking that 6 breaths in, because I know, and 6 seconds worth of breath in, it's quite tough at first, trying to fill the lungs, trying to send that oxygen, if you will, down to the diaphragm area, down to the stomach area. It's hard to get the technique. So anywhere you like can be used to start practicing, you know, the skill of breathing, I think.
Let's leave with a real clear, simple message from me and then one from you. How does that sound?
Do it.
Okay. If there's something playing on your mind, you've got to get it off your chest, right? And the way you get it off your chest is by breathing out as far as you can. That's expressing all the stuff that's built up. But if you express it in a destructive way, it will come back and it will bite you on the arse. So the idea is all this repressed, suppressed energy and emotion of eons is trying to come out now, right? If we can use this atomic energy that's trying to come out for something creative, something positive, something useful, and something that when it's flowing, it gives us joy and vitality, I feel that that's the way forward. Now, will it work for everybody? Yes, it will, but it won't work the same way for everybody. You've got to find out what you do that expresses full vitality, that gives you joy. That's your mission for today. Find out what works for you, gives you joy, and do more of it. There's Dr. Joe. Feel like father. I nearly said Father Joe then. There's Father Joe's suggestions on how things could help you. Over to you, my boy.
For me, guys, what it is nutrition and exercise. You've taken it for granted, and you're not going to get away with it much longer. Like Joe said, you can't outrun time. And you may feel fit and healthy, not doing nothing up until your 30s. But if you're not really exercising and you're not taking in good sustenance and not learning how to cook, damn it, you know, taking takeaways all the time, just eating sandwiches, it is eventually going to catch you up. And I think people are more aware of their health and diet now because of viruses hit. And, you know, it disappoints me that it's taken a virus to make people a little bit more aware of their health. So I think what I want you to go away and do is I want you to get a piece of paper and I want you to write down a 7-day exercise program with Joe's breathing techniques in. And then you need to learn a little bit about nutrition. What is protein? What are fats? What are good fats and bad fats, and what do they do? What are carbohydrates? What vitamins are going to help with respiratory issues? Vitamin D, by the way, A and zinc. C and zinc. So you need to make it an effort now, after this is all over, to make nutrition and exercise a vital part of your life. Because again, you cannot outrun time. And I'm not going to give you sympathy if you're sitting there at a heart attack at 50 because, you know, you've clogged out those arteries up full of fat. Okay, it's time to stop allowing people to get away with it, because, you know, it's okay to be overweight, and, you know, I'm allowed to do what I want to do. You're not, because we've allowed that to happen. And as we've allowed that to happen, we've got so much negativity and such ill health in the UK. I think it's about time we focus on the nutrition and the exercise. And that's my little input.
Yeah, and that's the yin and the yang of it, my boy. Right.
Done.
And how come I'm 65 years of age, right, and look younger than you? That's what I want to know.
No way. No way. I'm gorgeous, Joe, honestly. I'm gorgeous, man. I think it's a beard is what it is.
Yeah. I think you've had too many vitamins, as you call them.
Probably, mate.
Hey, listen, we'll do some more of these then. And
definitely, mate.
You know, just to everybody out there, I don't know everything, but I've been through this stuff, and I've found that exercise, I do a lot of running, I do a lot of wild water swimming when I can, and all these sort of things. I think return to Mother Nature seems to be a big part of this as well. And as Jay said, get out, have a look at the sea, have a look at the birds, have a look at the beauty of Mother Nature, and I'm sure that will help you to restore some sanity and make wiser, healthier choices.
Joe, you know,
there's always one more thing with you.
One more thing, Joe, is I'm going to swear now, and I have to put this point across. A lot of people that are sort of negative are going to look at these videos that we've done in the past and say, you know, where we're going, stay positive, stay focused. a lot of people are looking at videos of positivity and ways things are making, you know, I never falter. I'm never down. I always sort myself out. And people will turn around when I'm discussing this and say, well, isn't it fucking good to be Jay Dignam? Well, it is actually. And my point is, there's no point in following people that are 80% depressed most of the time, and the shit they're trying to push out isn't really working for them. Find people that are happy. Find people that have got structure in the stuff they're teaching, and follow them. But you know, if people are naturally happy, and we're talking about breathing, I'm telling you now, because me and Joe have come out of some, you can't fathom the stress and the shit we had to go through, you know, in our younger days. So where we've gone through that stress, you know, we don't know everything, Joe, but we've come out of something really stressful and really negative, and we're still using the tools we used back then, and it's working. Do you know what I mean? So it makes sense. Apologies. It makes sense just to try and take, even if it's just a bit of advice from us, just the breathing, just a bit of the nutrition, because it's working for me and it's damn working for you, you know. And we all get some sad days, and it's okay to allow that sadness in, but you get your shit together. You use the tools you've been, you know, working on to get rid of that negativity and bring in the positivity, whether that be breathing or exercise. So I don't want a lot of people to go, oh, fuck these two. Oh, isn't it great to be them? It is really great to be in this position where we are happy and we have them tools. So we don't know everything, but we're trying to push out. If you just take away one little thing, you know, each video, so be it.
Lovely, mate. I love your passion. I feel passionate about this myself, you know, and we'll do some more. So take it easy. Take care of yourself.
And you, Joe.
And I'll see you soon.
See you soon. I love you to bits.
And you. See you, mate.
Bye, mate.
Toodaloo.